Hey guys, it's Martin. Sorry, this particular episode is going up a bit late. I know a lot of you look forward to them, and I don't like leaving you guys hanging, and I certainly don't like, not getting an episode up on time. Hopefully, you guys are doing okay. I don't know. I always feel like I'm letting you guys down if it doesn't go up like middle of the day. But it's up now. It's you're hopefully seeing me, and you're hopefully doing all right. And I'm doing okay. I had an okay week, very busy week. I actually I don't know if I've mentioned this in previous episodes. I think I did, but the meds that I'm on right now have really gotten me motivated. They've got me wide awake in a very literal sense. I'm getting very little sleep lately. But I honestly feel like it's a decent trade-off, the amount of stuff I'm getting done and the fact that I feel a lot better than I used to. So, yeah. But I had a pretty good week. I got a lot of work done, and I'm actually this week I'm going to a convention called Anime Milwaukee, which is the first convention I've done on my own. I'll be doing on my own for quite a while. So I mean, I know some people who are going to be there, but I'm still kind of intimidated by it. It's not fun to travel alone. So yeah, I'm kind of worried, but I'm sure it'll be okay. I've been to so many of these bloody conventions, and nothing has really ever gone horribly wrong. I've had some bad times, but I'm sure it won't be that bad. Um, Aside from that, yeah, I not much has happened. Oh, there was one specific thing that I want to talk to you about. It's the first part of the video, so without further ado, this is something that makes me happy. Writing in general has always been a very, very huge part of me, and I like writing. I like writing scripts for my videos. I like writing just the very act of writing to me feels very therapeutic. It's getting something out from inside and putting it on a piece of paper. I kept a journal for a short time while dealing with depression, and that's really helpful actually. It's can be upsetting because a lot of the stuff that I wrote down was very negative, and if anybody read it, that wasn't me, they'd probably be very worried about me. But getting it out onto the paper was really, really, it was a good feeling, and that's what I get out of writing a lot. I really enjoy creating worlds and characters and describing them from in a way that it creates an image in somebody's mind that is completely different depending on the person. It sounds very pretentious, but writing is like it's probably the thing I'm most passionate about. Whenever people ask me, did you ever see yourself becoming a voice actor? Did you ever see yourself becoming a comedian or whatever people think that I am? I always wanted to be a writer. Like one of my dreams I always mention is I'd love to get published. I mean, a lot of people want to get that one book published, but I think it would be really awesome if if I had one book on the shelves and was like, yeah, look, that's a thing that I created and it's there, and it'll probably be there hopefully long after I'm gone. And that's something that really excites me. I love just the act of writing. I'm really in my element when I'm doing it. And specifically, I want to talk about fanfiction, which a lot of you probably have a predisposition towards, either negative or positive. But to me, fanfiction has always been a positive thing. I actually, I guess I technically wrote fanfiction at school for a while. When I say that, I actually mean I wrote it in class. Forgive me for drinking tea. I need some caffeine. I wrote fanfiction in class as part of my lessons. Whenever I would be given a creative writing project, and whenever I'd be given like an essay that was supposed to be told in the form of prose, I would take every opportunity to turn it into a fanfic. In fact, a bunch of them were just Beavis and Butthead fanfics, and I'm talking about like history essays, like legitimately serious, like subject matters like the 1066 Battle of Hastings. Beavis and Butthead showed up and were like, haha, that's cool. And I would read it in front of the class as the characters, and they would get a huge kick out of it. And the teacher, who was always like this 40 or 50-year-old man, would be like, "What is this?" But it was really enjoyable to me to write for characters that that don't belong to me, admittedly. But it's interesting to explore established characters and to mess around with them and to, you know, put them in a situation they may not be typically in. And I really like fan fiction, like, as a whole. I think it's really interesting to see people's different takes on the characters, because, you know, sometimes you want to know, you know, what if this character was like that, or what if, you know, it was interpreted a different way, or, you know, what if they were in a different relationship. You know, a lot of people like to use fan fictions to explore relationships between characters, you know, even if they're completely unlikely, which I don't have a problem with. You know, at the end of the day, I don't care if something's canon or not. If you enjoy it, whatever. But speaking of the fan fiction, this is what I wanted to lead into. I had some friends around last night. Mariana, my wife, invited a bunch of her friends over, and we at a convention I just went to. There was this thing called an Iron Fan Fiction contest, or an Iron Chef fan fiction contest panel. I don't know. Maybe that was the name. But my wife and her friend took part, and they found out that, you know, the way it works is you put a bunch of characters' names in a hat, and scenarios and locations, and you pick them out at random, and whatever you pick out, you're stuck with, and you have to make it work in the context of a story. And we did this last night. There was about 6-7 of us, and we all put in 3 characters, 3 locations, and 3 scenarios, and then pulled out 1 of each, and then 2 characters. And there were some really hilarious combinations. Mariana got the situation was the zombie apocalypse. The location was the Death Star, and the characters were Walter White from Breaking Bad and Seto Kaiba, which was amazing. Just, you know, the 2 really gruff-voiced characters, very egotistical characters clashing, and she ended up calling it the Meth Star, which was a stroke of genius. And there were a lot of different characters and situations that were amazing. Like, everybody did a great job. But I was really into it. I really want to do this sort of thing again. And I thought I would share the fanfic that I wrote with you guys. It's only a short one because we took about half an hour to write them. But I thought I would share what I did, because I thought it was kind of funny, and I thought it would be something that, you know, might amuse you guys. The location that I got was Hogwarts, which is not good, because I'm not saying that Hogwarts is bad, but I don't know anything about Harry Potter. I know you're going to be like, why? Well, you're British. Why don't you know about Harry Potter? I know nothing about Harry Potter. I've seen 1 movie, and I didn't care about anything that happened in it. And I'm sure Harry Potter's great. I just have never really experienced it, and I have no context for it. So the fact that it took place at Hogwarts made me go, oh, I'm screwed. But I rolled with the punches, and I tried my best. The scenario was, again, the zombie apocalypse, because apparently 2 of us had the same idea. And the characters were Mr. Darcy from Pride and Prejudice and Channing Tatum. So they're at Hogwarts trying to survive the zombie apocalypse. And this is how the story goes. I should preface this by saying, again, I know nothing about Harry Potter, so it's very likely that there are a lot of erroneous statements in this about the Harry Potter universe. And I also know very little about Pride and Prejudice and Channing Tatum, so any inaccuracies relating to them as well, please forgive me. And also, as far as grammar and, you know, sentence structure goes, I know I'm making lots of excuses right now, but it was a limited amount of time, so I do apologize. But this is the finished product. Harry Potter and the Pride and Prejudice of Channing Tatum. The zombie Weasley fell upon Mr. Darcy's shoulder, teeth gnashing impotently at his overcoat as grey matter gushed from its reddish locks. Darcy grumbled dismissively, reaching out for a nearby broomstick, spinning it around expertly and cracking it over the undead Gingernut's cranium. The boy, it seemed, annoying as he had been in life, was twice as cumbersome in death, falling limp upon Fitzwilliam's torso as the remainder of his teenage life seeped from the fracture in his rotting skull. Oh, there's some rather brutal imagery. I should mention it's the zombie apocalypse, so if you're upset by violence, I'll cut out some of the more violent parts, how about that? Whoa! Once more came the vapid tones of Channing Tatum's bewildered ejaculations. Where'd you learn how to do that, Colin? I keep telling you, Mr. Darcy remarked under his breath, acknowledging the approaching horde of wizards in training, their eyes a burning throng of yellow candles that glowed fiercely in the darkness. At one time they had studied the arts of magic in these hallowed halls, but now Darcy would teach them a new lesson, one in the etiquette of death. My name is Darcy, Fitzwilliam Darcy. Man, you're always so method, Colin, Channing Tatum bleated, removing his shirt for some indiscernible reason. My agent tells me I should give that a shot, but the casting notes always say that they want Channing Tatum in the role, so I don't see the point of acting like I'm me when I already am me. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's what he sounds like. Mr. Darcy was too fixated upon the zombies to give his words more than a passing thought. He reached into his pocket and removed his pistol, an ancient device that barely worked, creaking as he drew back the thumb-sized trigger and aimed it squarely at the young girl's head. She was the leader of the swarm, her curls likely a once attractive mess of brown atop her head, now caked in blood and stuck together in unsightly clumps of dark red, like crushed strawberries. The other undead children followed her unquestioningly, as though even in death she possessed a unique authority that the other students lacked. Mr. Darcy felt that she would have been a fine match for him in life, but now the odds were in his favor. The shot rang out, an ugly explosion that caused Channing Tatum to flinch and cover his pectorals protectively. Mr. Darcy's fingers screamed with the force of the recoil, and the pistol was practically wrenched from his clutches. The bullet connected with the young girl's once fair complexion, her freckles disintegrating as her skull buckled beneath the impact. Her face was now missing, and flecks of phlegm sprayed from the remains of her jaw. Class dismissed, Mr. Darcy commented moodily, dropping the firearm and scowling effectively. The rest of the zombies took one look at their fallen sister-in-arms, and a dim intelligence flickered in their collected consciousness, and they began their clumsy retreat. The stench of rotting corpses dissipated with their departure, and Darcy turned to check on his unwitting companion. Mr. Tatum, I would appreciate it if you would lend a slight amount of assistance in this unfortunate venture. Fuck that, dude, replied Channing, waving Mr. Darcy off with one of his gorgeous arms. You know what you're doing. You've probably done a bunch of these zombie movies already, Colin. They do make those in England, yeah? 'Cause I don't watch foreign films. For all I know, you guys could make Yeti porn and it wouldn't surprise me. Most of these words made absolutely no sense to Mr. Darcy, but he nodded all the same. You seem to be under the illusion that this is all a charade, sir. Charade? It's pronounced charade, man, Channing Tatum scoffed, rolling his eyes at the well-to-do gentleman. You British don't know how to speak English all that good, huh? We appear to be in the midst of an incident most foul, explained Darcy, addressing Channing as he would a farm animal that had misbehaved, condescending and chiding, and yet somewhat compassionate. These illusionists seem to have unleashed something as of yet unknown to most mortal folk. A life beyond death that is not as romantic as the old spirituals might have had us believe. Duh, man, they're zombies, Channing Tatum said. It seemed he understood the situation far better than Darcy would have assumed from one of his less-than-intelligent ilk. You never see Walking Dead? I was in talks to star in that before they gave the role to that limey jack-off. No offense. None taken, Mr. Darcy replied truthfully. He had no means of taking offense, as he really didn't understand the context behind Channing's ribald commentary. But offense is what we must steep ourselves in, for I would not be surprised if another wave of the brutes returned within the hour. It's kinda messed up, sighed Channing, picking up a decidedly crooked wizard hat from a nearby pedestal. Its features resembled that of an old man's face, and a dusty line of text beneath the stone platform identified it as a sorting hat of some sort. The way you took out all those kids? But then again, you probably do some weird shit in all those movies, like in that King's Speech flick where you played an idiot. You seem to have me mistaken with another fellow, Mr. Darcy grunted, setting to work sharpening the end of the broomstick he had used in his tussle with the red-headed undead character. Which is very odd, as I'm sure no one of my stature would deign to associate with someone of your unique character. Before Channing could unslacken his jaw and retort, there was a sound rather like water being thrown into a boiling hot stove, piercing their ears with its warbling whine. Mr. Darcy instinctively fell to one knee, while Channing tried in vain to cover his ears with the sorting hat. At the end of the hall, a swirling indigo vortex had appeared, and out from within flew a young boy with glasses, dark hair, and a scar the shape of a lightning bolt upon his brow. He was riding a broomstick much like the one Darcy now wielded before him, and he held aloft a bright stick that shone an ethereal light upon the two of them. Brains? The zombie Harry Potter's words crawled out from his billowing gullet, his body malformed and his eyes missing behind his spectacles. He swung his wand in a sweeping motion, as if conducting an invisible orchestra, and then rushed towards them in a haphazard flight path. Brains? Expecto Patronum? Brains? Channing Tatum exchanged a meaningful look with Mr. Darcy, and then brought aloft the sorting hat. Time to strangle me a limey bitch. Indeed, Mr. Darcy smirked, and stood beside his estranged brother in arms. The unlikely battle had begun. And that's all I could write, because obviously time ran out. And you may notice I never attempted to explain why there was a zombie apocalypse going on, or why Channing Tatum and bloody Mr. Darcy were teaming up. But honestly, I think that makes it better. And it feels like it's the middle chapter in a story in a way. That's what I like about it. It feels like it's the middle of the story and you've just sort of joined it halfway. But yeah, it was so much fun. I really got a kick out of it because it was very rewarding to just let it out, let the creative energy out. So, I highly encourage writing, and I highly encourage fanfic writing as well. Like I've written a lot in my time, and it's fun, and I really enjoy it. And I recommend doing an exercise like that as well, like where you just take these random characters and the situation, and the setting, and just go nuts, because it really was a lot of fun. There are unfortunately a lot of times where I feel like I'm a waste of space, and I feel that way even before my depression. I felt that way every so often, but when I became depressed, it became a much more frequent occurrence, even a constant one, and it's not good. I mean, obviously it's not good, and the thing is that nobody's worthless, I no, not one person. Like even somebody who's horrible has their place in the world. Even if you feel a certain way, like you don't deserve to be alive, or you don't deserve to be where you are or with the people you are, you do. If you're surrounding yourself with good people who care about you, you deserve that, because they wouldn't be there if they didn't really care about you. And it's especially hard for me sometimes when I find myself in situations like, I talked about in the first episode about meeting Team 4-Star, and there are times often when I'm like, I don't deserve to know these guys. I don't deserve to work alongside these guys. I don't deserve to talk to these guys. Why are they even giving me the time of day? And that's a really dangerous train of thought, because eventually you start being like, well, I don't deserve that. I really don't. But you do. You really do. You deserve whatever you've got in your life that is positive, that makes you happy. You deserve, because you've earned it one way or another. One way or another, you have. You've come to this point in your life, and it's probably been a really crazy, confused journey. And some of the paths you take are really not fun, and they go all over the place, and they sometimes make you feel like you're backtracking. But this point you're at right now, everything that you feel is right about it, you deserve, and you need to preserve that. Like, I look back on my life, and it's very difficult to trace the path that I've taken to come here, which is why sometimes when I look at it, I don't take into account all the trials and the struggles and all the things I've had to overcome to get here. So I look at myself and I'm like, well, what the hell did I do to deserve this? But I've done things. I've taken on challenges, and I've done my best to create and make people laugh. And I'm sure you have done your fair share as well. Even if you're very young watching this, if you've got something really great in your life, if you have a loving family, if you have friends, if you just have like one thing that makes you feel good, like a security blanket, from your childhood, or an action figure collection, or a movie that means a lot to you. You deserve those things. You those things belong to you. There's a scene in X-Men Days of Future Past, and I know I'm going on a weird tangent. There's a scene from that movie, and I thought that was a great movie. But there was one scene in particular that I was really impressed by, and a lot of people weren't. But it's the scene where young Xavier meets Patrick Stewart Xavier. James McAvoy is talking to Patrick Stewart basically across time, and James McAvoy, young Patrick Stewart, is like basically a complete wreck. He's depressed. He's in a really bad situation and doesn't see any point in trying, and essentially rejects the idea of growing up to be Patrick Stewart, being this really noble, positive father figure. And Patrick Stewart basically, the scene illustrates the fact that, you know, you can be at point A where everything feels like it's going to fall to pieces, and you feel like you're going to fall to pieces, but there's a point B and a point C, and you're going to go all the way down the alphabet until you reach a point where you are the person you deserve to be, and the person that the ideal you is waiting for you down the line. You're not worthless. You're not. No matter how strong that feeling may be, it's really important that you realize that. It's really important that you know truly within your heart that no matter what that voice is telling you, it's full of crap. It really is. And I don't know, I wish there was a better way of illustrating it. Going on completely other nerdy tangent, there's an episode of Deep Space Nine called Far Beyond the Stars, and I highly recommend it. It's got some great acting in it. And there is, you know, people talk about it being about racism, but to give you context, if you've never seen Deep Space Nine, and I highly recommend that, it's my favorite Star Trek, the Federation is at war with this seemingly insurmountable force called the Dominion, who are basically threatening to wipe, to overthrow the Federation, just take whatever they want, take everything from them, and just, you know, consume them. And what happens is, in this one episode, Cisco, the captain of Deep Space Nine, gets a vision from these ethereal creatures called the Prophets, and he's basically taken back in time. Not really. He's shown a situation where, in, you know, mid 20th century America, where people like him, African Americans, were subjugated and treated terribly. And obviously that's still a hot topic, right? You know, that's still something that's unfortunately ongoing. But the world that Star Trek presents is a world that has, obviously hundreds of years from now, grown from that and doesn't have to deal with that specific issue anymore. Obviously, it's a science fiction setting. I'm not saying that we will never get there, but that's the setting that they provide. And by showing him this situation in mid 20th century and putting him in the shoes of an African American author that is being mistreated and basically being treated like dirt and not getting what he deserves, he's put in a position that feels hopeless, which is exactly what the situation is in the current storyline with the Dominion. And what the prophets are showing him, what these entities are showing him with this vision, is that, yeah, things probably seem really, really bad right now. Things probably seem like you will never rise up from this. Things probably seem like you will never overcome this problem, and you might want to give up. But look, you've overcome this issue. You've grown from this problem. You've learned from this problem, and now you're better for it. So don't give up. You know, no matter how bad things might seem. And I know that's not specific to feeling worthless, but I took a lot from that, and I took a lot from that when I felt worthless, and I would remind myself of that, of how important every person is, and how nobody is worthless. So, I don't know what else to tell you. All I can just insist on is that if you are feeling the way I'm describing, if you're feeling that there's no point, and that you have no point, and that, you know, you're wasting everybody's time, it's not true. You know, I mean, I was in that situation. I still am a little bit. When I was in my late teens and early 20s, I was constantly thinking I was worthless. I had a mild bout of depression back then as well, but it was just a thing that I believed, even without the depression, and sometimes still do. But tomorrow can turn things around completely, you know? And I mean that literally. Like, one day I was basically a shut-in and couldn't do anything on my own. And then the next, I had this entire world opened up to me with amazing people and friends and you guys. And I'm really grateful for you guys. So, please, don't give up. And you're not worthless at all in any shape or form. You are not. Okay? I'm telling you that. I believe that. I believe that 100% about you, no matter who you are. Even if you hate me, which is fine. If you're just watching this video because it's helping you, regardless of who I am, you're not worthless. Nobody is worthless. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. So thank you. And please, be better to yourself. You know, treat yourself a little bit better. Even just for one day, or for 1 hour, or a couple of minutes. Just take some time for yourself, because you deserve it. All right? Sorry to be so rude and be drinking tea during this whole thing. I just really was thirsty. I still am. But yeah, that's the end of the episode. I really do appreciate you guys watching, and I'm sorry that it's late. Still try to get it up on Monday. I'm hoping that this is up on Monday. I don't know for sure if it's going to be on Monday. If it's Tuesday, I do apologize. Last week's episode was late because of an uploading problem with YouTube. Who knows if there's going to be one with this one. But hopefully not, and hopefully you're seeing this and you're even if you're not in a good situation, I hope it's put you in a better one. And please keep fighting. Even if you're not dealing with depression, keep fighting whatever struggle you're going through. And I hope to see you sometime. And definitely see you next week. Okay? Be back here. Thank you. If you wish to reach me, you can find me at Yu-Gi-Oh! TAS on Twitter. And for all my other content, please visit team4star.com/LittleKuriboh. I hope you have a great day.